Welcome everybody to another episode. I'm Paul with Unfiltered Aquarist. If it's your first time joining us today, be sure to hit that subscribe button, like button, turn on the notification bell so you don't miss out on all future content. Today's going to be a good one. Before we get started in today's episode, I'd like to thank all my subscribers for helping me reach the goal of hitting 500 subscribers. Thank you so much. I really mean it. I know it may not seem like a lot to some people, but it is a lot to me. And if you haven't seen my other video, which I promised all of you guys, is when I reach 500 subscribers, we're going to be doing a giveaway. So if you haven't seen that video, I'll put a link down in the description, and I'll try and put a little thingy up here. Now that we've hit that goal of 500 subscribers, I can set a date, which is going to be next Saturday, which is March 14th, and we're going to be doing it at 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Hopefully that's not stepping on anyone's toes as far as live streaming. I did a quick search. It looks like it's not, but if it is, I apologize ahead of time. So let's get on with this video about my personal top 5 beginner tips. Stick around till the end and maybe you'll get a little extra. So today we're going to be talking about the 5 things that I wish somebody had told me when I first got into the fish keeping hobby. Now some of these things might seem really basic and really simple and kind of like duh type of things, but when I first started, I didn't have anybody to tell me what to do, what not to do. So I thought about it and I put together my 5 top things that I would have liked to have known beforehand. So starting off with the number 1, I think is the most important, basically all encompassing of all the tips that anybody ever could give you, is do your research. Research. Now what do I mean by this? You're doing some research if you're watching this video, so good job there. A couple of the places I find to be the easiest and most resourceful ways to get information on basically anything: Google. Now yes, hold up, there's a lot of controversial things on Google. It might be hard to find the correct answer as well. That's why you should use a few of these different research tools to be able to put together your best educated answer. I would say go to your local fish store. Local fish store, not one of these big box chain stores. I mean, go to a store that specifically sells fish. Now, again, people can be wrong. People can be misleading. But more likely than not, the people working at your local fish store, especially the stores that have been around for quite some time, are usually family run and typically know what they're talking about. Don't be afraid to ask questions. We all started somewhere. We all began somewhere. Nobody's an expert. You can ask the most experienced hobbyist fish keeper out there if they know everything. If they're a good fish keeper and an honest fish keeper, they're going to tell you no. There is always something new, something that they do not know, that they have not learned. Whether it's because they don't explore that area, like let's say some fish keepers, they might have been dealing with cichlids for the past 30, 40 years, and specifically cichlids only. They might know everything under the sun about cichlids, but then you turn around and you ask them about plants, they might not know anything about plants. There are some fish keepers out there that are widely versed in all aspects of the fish keeping hobby, whether it be monster fish, community tropical fish, nano fish, the aquascaping. There's so many different aspects to the hobby, different little niches that you can find yourself in. So we have Google, we have your local fish store, and then one of my personal favorites is Facebook. There are so many Facebook groups out there for any particular type of fish you're keeping or would like to keep. Type in whatever fish that you're looking to keep or you would like more info in, and guarantee you there is a group for that. Join these groups. Don't be afraid to ask. Most of these groups online, they're more than willing and happy to give you information on that specific fish or anything in the fish keeping hobby. Like a great man once said, trust but verify. Hey, if you know who said that, leave it down in the comments below. Don't just take your information from one source alone. Look around. Like we said, there's Google, there's Facebook groups, there's your local fish store. There might be neighbors, family, friends who keep aquariums. Ask them. Don't be afraid to ask. Second tip, the nitrogen cycle. This has got to be, without a doubt, other than research, because like I said in the beginning, research basically encompasses all of these tips and everything you can do in the fish keeping hobby. But the nitrogen cycle is one thing you are going to need to research. Know it. You're not going to have to become an expert at it, but you're gonna have to know it and understand it to be able to keep your fish healthy, happy, and alive. So to put it simply, the nitrogen cycle is basically trying to build up beneficial bacteria in whatever type of media you have, your water column, and everything in your tank. And what the beneficial bacteria does is it breaks down all of the harmful compounds in the water. So the three main compounds in your water are going to be ammonia, nitrite, and nitrate. The first two, ammonia and nitrites, are harmful at low quantities to your fish's health. We'll get into all the details and everything possibly in a future video. Now, nitrates, on the other hand, are the result and basically the end game of the cycle. So when you're setting up a brand new tank, you have to introduce some sort of ammonia to your water. There's a few different ways to cycle a brand new tank if you're brand new in the hobby and you don't have existing tanks, because seeding tanks from an existing tank is a whole nother topic, and we'll get into that at another time. One example that produces ammonia, and the biggest one in your aquarium, is going to be your fish waste. So once the ammonia is broken down, it is broken down into nitrites, which then and again is broken into nitrates, which at that point nitrates are fairly safe. To show that your tank has fully cycled, it means that there's zero trace of ammonia, zero trace of nitrites, and showing positive on the nitrate scale. But wait, cycling is not just for new tanks. Your aquarium, whether it's 1 month old to a year old to 10 years old, is constantly going in this cycle. So finding a fine balance with all of this cycle is the objective. Tip number 3, quarantine new fish. What do I mean by quarantine new fish? When you get a new fish from the store, say you have an existing tank already set up, it has been cycled, and it's been running for a few months. You already have some fish in there, maybe some live plants, an already kind of sort of established tank by that time. But you're thinking to yourself, I need a little more life in this tank. So what do? You go to the local fish store and you check out new fish. I don't care where you've gotten your fish from, whether it's from a friend, from a local fish store, from a big box chain store. You can trust this person with your life. I suggest quarantine that fish. Why? They might look healthy, they might be healthy, sitting in their tank. They've been there for a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a month at the fish store, not showing any signs of illness or infections or anything bad. Well, guess what? In the process of removing this fish from the existing tank at the store or friend's house or wherever you're getting it from, putting it in a bag, driving it home, putting it in your new tank, it stresses the fish out just by moving it. It's gonna stress the fish out. When a fish gets handled, it can lose its slime coat, which is basically a covering that protects around their body. It's whenever you touch a fish, they kind of feel slimy. That's it. So when you stress a fish out, it lowers their immune system. They might have been carrying something that wasn't showing because their immune system was strong enough to keep it at bay. But now what have you done? You've stressed out the fish. Its immune system has weakened. Therefore, this issue or problem is going to present itself, possibly. Not saying every fish out there is sick. You might get lucky, you might not. So we have a quarantine tank. If you want more info and you would like to know how to set up a quarantine tank and how I do it, check out the video above. So a quarantine tank is a separate, clean, sterile environment where you can put your fish into. It's basically like a little hospital tank. This way, you can watch it and you can medicate it if necessary without having to medicate your entire tank or worry about contaminating the other fish in your existing tank. Usually quarantining fish is about 2 to 3 week process, at least for me. Some people have different processes in it, but you just want to be sure that the fish is healthy and is doing fine before you introduce it to your already existing fish. Tip number 4, don't stress out. Everybody makes mistakes. We all had to start somewhere. Like I told my wife the other day, we shouldn't call this the fish hobby or fish keeping. It's a practice. You know, like doctors, how they call what their medical profession is. It's a practice. Why? They're constantly learning, evolving, learning new skills, learning new medicines. Sometimes we just gotta learn the hard way, make the mistake. But the important thing is, don't give up and that we learn from that mistake. Tip number 5, maintenance. Keep up on a schedule, keep a routine, get in the habit of doing your water changes, feeding, Some people might think fish keeping, you throw some fish in some water in a glass box and you're good. No, there's a lot more to it than that. Not trying to scare you, but there is a lot more to it. Just like with any pet, there's gonna be maintenance involved in caring for your living creature, because that's what it is. It is a pet. It's something that now you are responsible for, a life that you are responsible for, and you would like to take care of that and see it grow up to be a healthy, beautiful fish. No? So some examples of maintenance and upkeep are feeding, water changes, cleaning filters, always staying up and checking your water parameters, making sure that that cycle we talked about, the nitrogen cycle, is doing well and your beneficial bacteria is still established and controlling your tank. There's also, we all dread it and we all hope it doesn't happen, but fish are gonna get sick for whatever reason it may be. Now, aside from the actual fish in your tank, let's say you have live plants. That takes a lot of work and dedication as well. So those are the 5 tips that I would have loved to have known before getting into this hobby. And hey, just because you stuck around so long, I'm gonna give you a bonus one. This is just from me to you. If you've been in the hobby for a while now, you're gonna understand what I say next. If you're brand new to the hobby, you're gonna learn quickly. Impulse buys. Don't. That's all I'm gonna say about that. Don't ever make an impulse purchase when it comes to fish. Trust me, it happens to all of us. We go into the local fish store and we see something new, something cool looking, some oddball that we've never seen before, and we just have to have it. So what do? We ask how much, we say, okay, put it in a bag, and I'm taking it home. Where was the research? If you don't have a setup already for that specific fish, don't buy the fish. That's just some words from me to you. Take it for what it's worth, but just some friendly advice.